Hello and welcome to Plane Reviews NKSB Bonus Episode 3 More Replica. If you remember, there was that save file with all the replicas in it that some of them work, most of them don't, but I've been slowly going through it and this is a very interesting look. The question is, will it fly? Yes, so as I was saying, some of you may remember that... Oh, what the hell? That was interesting. I don't know what that was supposed to... Oh, that was the escape tower that's used as part of the nose cone that wasn't disabled for some reason or whatever. Some of you may remember that there's this whole save file thing going on. Some of you may not, or may not even have known. But yes, there's this full save file of replicas of planes that I've been testing out every once in a while. And while this is awesome in theory, like I know what it's replicating and it does look pretty cool, although I wish there was a bit more like functionality or a little bit sleeker and nicer. There is one massive problem: the fact that those engines, the way they're placed, they're not actually generating any thrust. So the only thrust this thing had was that little bit out of the escape tower, which shouldn't have even like been there, and the rest of it's just going to waste. So next up we have the Dassault Mirage 5, which it's slightly clipping, so I'm not too happy about that, and the center of lift is way too far back. And let's face it, we're not really expecting it to fly, but it would be awesome if it did, because it does look like a Mirage, and Mirages are cool. Also, there's some bits clipped in here that I'm... Oh, I see. I bet those bits are to make it fly, because it's got some control surface stuff stuck up there in the front. And I'm hoping they'll make it fly, although the center of lift indicator indicated that this craft would not fly. So Bobstead Kerman is doomed to a watery death in the sea, unless we get lucky. Oh, it does fly. Barely, but it flies. So, the massive problem with this, of course, is that the center of lift is way too far back, so it flies more like a dart than anything else. This is a replica of a fighter, but it flies more like you'd expect something that is, you know, a lumbering giant of some sort that doesn't really fly very well at all. So, yes. Let's move on to the next thing, after showing that it's actually not that much maneuverable pointing down even. This time it's the Dassault Mirage 3, or 3, or E, depending on how you want to pronounce it. This looks like it's like unfinished, like he started working on it, then kind of gave up, or finished it elsewhere. I don't know what a Mirage 3 looks like, so maybe this is actually what it's supposed to look like. Who knows? Someone out there knows. One of you in the comments will surely tell me, or as the case may be, 20 of you may tell me. I'm just kind of referencing. I have a video. Which one was it? It was the Monav Planes Part 2. I forget which episode that was of one of these plane reviews, and there was something that was a bit like an F4U Corsair in there. And by the way, that is the plane that I was referencing. But in the video, I'm like, this is like that one thing. I can't think of what it's called, but it's like World War II. It's like a dive bomber. It's like, it looks like this, blah, blah, blah. And then I still, every couple of days, I get a comment on that video, someone telling me that it looks like that plane, or like a couple other planes. Because it turns out there's some other planes that have a similar style, a similar look. And so I just constantly get people telling me how it looks like this plane, or like that plane. And yeah, it's just kind of amusing. And this is interesting. This thing, the center of lift is in front of the center of mass, and it's not flipping out, but it can fly at extreme angles of attack because of that. And it doesn't have the great takeoff capability, but once you're in the air, this thing seems to be fairly maneuverable. Let's try and turn an extremely tight turn, or fall to our deaths, since it doesn't want to turn. Okay, there we go. Here we go. Super tight turn. While it pulls up to extreme angles of attack, it doesn't really turn all that fast, unfortunately. But it is interesting how well this thing flies, especially considering this is the save full of half-working planes, so I'm not exactly expecting them to work. So, this one gets my rudimentary stamp of approval. I don't have one of those. I'm sorry. Now we have the De Havilland Vampire. I don't know if I said that right, but let's just hope I did. That is an interesting arrangement of wings. And here we are. Oh, all the landing gear is on the front there. Well, that would be where most of the weight is, I believe, so that makes sense. Do you have a parking brake stuck on? Apparently it had a parking brake stuck on. No, wait, it's just the same problem as before. If you put an engine directly with something behind it, it will not generate thrust. So, yeah, that's broken. Now the question is, did he fix that with the Deja Vu Vampire 2, which appears to be broken, so actually forget that. Next up we have the, wow, English Electric Canberra. That is weird. I can't wait to fly that. Okay, wow, those wings flex a lot. If nothing else, I love the style of this plane. Like, it's just like a giant clunky junker kind of thing. Like, it looks like it's one of those things where you're looking at it and you're going, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this doing? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Okay, good, at least he's drained the oxidizer out. That one doesn't have any liquid fuel, and that one only has half of its liquid fuel, probably to balance the center of mass properly. Come on, take off. There you go. Takes off at a reasonable speed, except for the fact that it will just blow up its own tail because the center of lift is in front of the center of mass, and so it wants to pull up on its own, which is annoying. So I think put a little more fuel back in the front tank to help with that problem. But otherwise, other than the fact that the center of lift is too far forward, this flies pretty well. It has, because of those extremely angled wings, it has enough like lift for itself, and I could see flying this around being kind of fun and funny because it's just this hilariously stupid looking thing. Next up we have the English Electric Lightning, which is a funky looking fighter. I'm beginning to think, is English Electric just like in the business of making stupid looking things? Because that's basically what we're getting at right now. Also, this one has the center of lift too far forward, I believe, as well, which is why I'm already lifting up the nose. Not actually lifting up, although now I'm about to already lift up. There we go. Off the runway. Come on, let's go up a little higher. Alright. Unfortunately, this thing does not maneuver too well, as you can see by the fact that I've been pulling up sharp this entire time, and it's only barely turning. Now, it does maneuver a lot better than, what was it? There was another thing that was in here that it maneuvers a lot better than the Mirage 5, but not that good overall, though. It is significantly better, though. Next up, we have the Eurofighter Typhoon, which, I don't think it really looks like this. I know sort of what it looks like, and I think this is wrong. It's also a bit like the Mirage, which, the real thing's a bit like the Mirage. And I think this is not going to go well, which makes me sad, because I want to love this plane. Also, dude, what the fuck were you thinking with the intakes here? And the cockpit? Like, I'm sorry, but what the fuck? Alright, assuming this takes off, we're going to do 2 more planes, and then I will end it for this episode. If this doesn't take off, well, I'm still going to do 2 more planes, and then end this episode. So, that doesn't really matter at this point. But, I would like it to take off. Also, I just noticed how the fuselage is built, and it's kind of weird, and it's also probably partially to blame for why it had a bit of a strange reaction with the suddenly turning sideways and all. This is a bit more maneuverable than the Mirage, which I like, but unfortunately it's extremely ugly up front. I do like the rear design, like this rear end is a nice design, other than I think this could probably fit in things a little better. Like, this part could be a bit further back and have like a rounded cap at the end, and possibly have a little bit bigger vertical, no, not a bigger vertical stabilizer, just have this a little further back, and I think it would fit in nicer. But otherwise, I do kind of like the way this is designed on the rear here. The problem is really the front, and the fact that it doesn't fly particularly well. And we are falling towards the ground quite severely. So severely that I didn't even get the chance to say that I'm just going to let it crash. So next up we have the F/A/XX, which has no vertical stabilizer as far as I can tell, so this is going to go well. Alright, here we are with a little wheel screeching sound, and let's engage the stabilization assistance. Let's see, can I see any clipped in vertical stabilization of any kind? Looks like no, it just does not have vertical stabilization. I think I've seen this design before, like this looks familiar. Also, I really like the design on this one. I really do. Like, some of the other things I really hate, but this one I really like. It's just so strange, but I like it. Alright, can we take off? Barely. Alright, it gets the stamp of almost approval. No, it gets the stamp of capable of flight. That is what it will be. I also don't have that stipend stamp either. And it has no vertical stabilizer though, so it will kind of roll around on the horizontal axis quite a bit, which is interesting. But it is cool to have a plane that just doesn't make any sense sometimes. Although it does fly like a drunken pig. And last, but hopefully not least, we have an attempt at the A10, and I'm sorry, you've been beaten to it so many times, so bad, and I have a feeling this isn't even going to fly because those are clipped into the engine and it might not even decide to have thrust. But let's try it anyhow, and hope it performs better than it looks, although, considering everything else in this save, I'm not so sure about that. I do like the tailplane design though. I like how you have it slightly angled up, as it should be. These would work much better just being surface attached rather than glitched into wings like that. Also this, I think, should be slightly angled down, and then these angled up, but I'm not 100% sure on that. It flies a hell of a lot better than mine, because I made one of these. This flies a heck of a lot better than mine. There is that one that, what's his name made? I forget his name, but he made a bunch of really awesome, like really perfect and well-flying replicas that I need to make a video about him at some point because, well, I've made some videos with some of his stuff, but I've never made a video specifically saying, hey, here are these planes made by this one awesome dude, and they're awesome, and you should go play with them and fly them because they're awesome. I haven't done that. I've been meaning to. I want to, because he has made some really awesome stuff. I do love how this flies. Just want to put that out there. Doesn't look good, but I like how it flies. And that is good. Thanks for watching. As always, see you in space.